Hello everybody and welcome. I am Matt, Client Success Manager at White House Custom Color. And we're just going to do a few quick reminders before we get started with David Campli today. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure and hit that button. That way you can get notified of all the cool stuff that we're going to be putting out online in our YouTube channel. Follow us along on Instagram at Whcc Pro, and then make sure and check out Whcc.com for all the product details, sizing options, all the fun things that we have to offer here at White House Custom Color. And then also, if you do have questions for us as we're doing our live broadcast today, make sure and put them into the chat and we will have David answer them all the way along the way. So without further ado, we are honored to have you here today, sir.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So for everybody that's listening along today, will you tell them who you are, where you're at, all that type of stuff?
Sure. So Campli Photography has been in existence since 1990. We're in a little town, Malvern, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb of Philadelphia, about 30 miles west of the city. True suburban town, small borough, 3,500 residents total. We've been in the same place ever since we started, and we primarily focus on, I'd say, 4 to 5 areas of photography. So number one is portraits. Portraits for us is everything from family portraits, kids, first communion, babies, bunny portraits, all those sorts of things. Then another large portion for us is seniors. So seniors has grown steadily over the years and is one of my favorites at this point. Mm-hmm. We also do some weddings and events, which we did more of, and we're doing a little less because of my gray hair. So, but
is that cause from the wedding?
Maybe it's a cause and effect. And so, weddings and events still are a significant part of our income. We do commercial photography. So for us, the commercial photography is mostly people-based, but not 100%. So we do plenty of headshots. We like to do groups of clients for content or for social media or for whatever they're using it for. And we also do some of the outlier things, like this week we're working in a recycling plant that recycles cardboard and drywall and all those sorts of things. So we'll be in a hard hat area. So that's more industrial commercial photography. And then growing for us and relatively new is the commercial video side of what we're doing, which is so much fun for me to be today in the studio, because I'm getting to learn more and more about being on the other side of that video camera. So that's been really fun and growing, and our son is heading up that side of the business.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of video, you were nice enough to send us a little intro video of your space. So let's go ahead and roll that so everybody can see your amazing studio that you work in. So we'll go ahead and play that for you here quick. I absolutely love that.
Thank you.
And I think that it's really cool for everybody watching along and that's going to be watching the replay on this to have an understanding of what your studio space looks like, because it definitely follows your own style. It looks like you.
Well,
it fits your business.
it's the only thing that my wife lets me decorate. So when you're in that scenario,
and seeing that she's in the room right now, that's a gutsy
it could
move.
be dangerous. But it is true. She lets me say, okay, I want to change that couch or change the color of the walls or the ceiling or add a new posing niche outside or do whatever. And so I do have free reign in there. It's kept the marriage alive, considering that we work together and live together. That was
Yes.
She was very smart to let me do that.
So you mentioned that you are really close to Philadelphia.
Yes.
So in your grand scheme of marketing, and I know that you are very involved in the Malvern community, do you market into Philly as well, or how does that work for your business?
Well, that's a great question. I don't market heavily in towards Philadelphia, although we tried it for a little while. About 8 years ago, we did a separate website that had a fictitious address. It was an address that you could buy in the Philly region, and that was connected to our commercial site only.
Got it.
And we let it roll for 3 years probably, and it just wasn't getting the traction that we had hoped for. So we just decided to go back to the address of our current Malvern studio. And if I'm being honest, there's plenty of photographers between me and Philadelphia, 30 miles outside of Philadelphia. So I'm not going to market that strongly into Philadelphia.
Okay.
We do live in an area of sort of suburb attached to the next town, to the next town, to the next town, all the way into Philadelphia City. We call it the main line. It was a train. It's a train line that goes from Philadelphia out to the suburbs. Those little towns are all connected. So we do market to about halfway down.
Okay.
In between our town and Philadelphia.
Okay, so you're going maybe like a 15-mile radius?
It's
roughly?
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
Okay, awesome. So you mentioned earlier that you've been in business since 1990.
Correct.
So well over 30 years.
Yikes.
Yeah. And in the business of photography, to have a sustained, successful business for over 30 years is not by accident. So will you share with us and everybody who is listening some of your keys to success? Because I know that you have several in your business model.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the only thing I'm going to glance down at the phone because I thought Matt might ask me that question. And
he read my mind.
And it's I think it's important because I sort of narrowed down as I was thinking about what are the things that I feel strongly that make you successful as a photographer. And I don't think it's any different from what I do or have done, that what a lot of businesses and a lot of, not just in the photography world, but a lot of different businesses do. And I think number one is you've got to have a thing that you do that people want to buy, right? So photography, you have to have a style that people are interested in.
Yep.
And that is, coming out of an art school or whatever, people all have their own individual style, how they're trained. I think that's super important. You can't have something that's not saleable in the market that you exist in.
Yeah, correct.
Right?
Yep, absolutely.
I think it's, the next thing for me that's super important is having roots in an area. Whether you're a home-based business or a brick and mortar studio like we are, you have to set down roots. One of the things that sort of bugs me sometimes is, and a lot of photographers are home-based businesses and I think they do great, but one of the things that bugs me is one that doesn't really ever put where they are. And I think for a lot of people, they're afraid of saying, I'm from this town, maybe because they're a home-based business and it's a little bit of a privacy issue or whatever, but I think I really feel strongly that you have to say, I'm from this area or this town, and own it, and say, I love saying that I'm from Malvern. We have T-shirts that say that. It's a Malvern thing. I think it's super important to have the roots in that area so that you are really just a biggest cheerleader possible for that area.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? Number 3, I think, is one that really speaks to brick and mortar studios who have the space to show this, but I think having an arsenal of products that are on your walls is paramount in being able to sell your wares to the general public.
Absolutely.
If I didn't have a 40 by 60 canvas wrap with a float frame on it in the first place that you walk into in my studio, I would never sell 16 by 20 canvas wraps with float frames because, well, the 40 by 60 might be too big. It gives the wow factor of walking in and someone saying, I want that.
Right, yep.
And so everything that the White House team produces for me, those albums. I mean, what's going to make a tearjerker more than somebody else looking at a family album from a beach session and go, I want that. That's what I want to have.
I want that.
Yeah. So, or a 1-year-old with a cake smash session and an album that has 20 10 by 10s in it. Like that's what people need to see to be able to say, that's what I want.
Right.
And so now you have this style of what you do. Okay, they like that. Now you have the stuff. Oh, I want that. So you're doing it right now. You're shaking your head. And as soon as you look over and somebody's shaking their head, yes, what's going to happen? They're going to buy that.
Absolutely, they are.
So now you have a product or a series of products or a whole product line to sell. Your product lines could be different for each sort of segment of the population. Maybe some people do packages of kids and they do a la carte for families or whatever, however it is, but you got to have it. And for us, during the slow times of the year, which is right now, we're coming up with the new ideas, the new brochures, whether they're printed brochures or they're online brochures, whatever. It's every product and every size imaginable that we have. Although something that I learned, I think, very much from a White House seminar video was you don't need to sell everything that White House produces, right?
That's very true.
I experiment through the years and I've changed over the years. Certain things that people were more interested in that we started selling and then we realized they were really popular. And so, and albums was one of those things. Probably 6 or 8 years ago, we sold this many albums and now we sell this many albums because we just added it to the line.
Yeah, and everybody loves them.
Everybody loves them. And so having, this year we put larger albums in as our samples so that we'll sell more medium size. Instead of the small, medium, the large, and now going through the lab, I'm gonna get the extra large as a sample, and that'll sell maybe a few more large samples.
Absolutely.
Let me just take a glance here and say the number 4 thing I think is super important. We've all been through it with COVID. How nimble are you? How quickly can you change and adapt? It was a huge thing for all of us in every business, but photography included. How quickly did you go to Zoom for your in-person sales when you needed to? And figure that out when you didn't know how to do it? Matt and I were maybe the first or second Zoom people with each other, and I said, Matt, I need practice. Will you be my guinea pig? And that was like, you know, March 20th or something of 2020.
It was very early.
Yeah. And so being nimble and being able to quickly change either products or things that you do or ideas that you come up. We're all in creative businesses, but we also have to run a business. So how quickly can you change something that you had an idea about? And Matt and I have talked about this on a number of occasions, watching Painting with Light with John Hartman and watching him do car photography. And it's come from my back burner to my mid burner. It's moving up on the stove. But I have one test shot under my belt, and now I have 2 guys that were interested as soon as the weather breaks in Philadelphia, and we're going to do shoots. So that's something that I'm so excited to do, giant metal prints or acrylics of cars with painting with light.
Darn right.
And it's something as a photographer who's now getting a little bit more mature in the business, is not running around for 12 or 15 hours doing that wedding photography at a reception, but now doing a sunset car session. How cool is that?
It's very cool.
So you have to be able to quickly add things to your product line, come up with a creative idea, and then change it and make it work.
Yeah, definitely.
Number 5, and I saved it to last, but I think it actually should be number 1 because it's the most important thing ever, is cementing yourself into your community. We've had a lot of conversations about that.
Definitely.
Everything that you can do to be involved in the circle of geographic area that you serve will do you so much in the world of adding to your business. If people see you out and about, and it doesn't have to be giant things. It can be knowing that you want to go have dinner with your family or your wife at a local spot rather than driving somewhere 30 miles, and now you see 3 of your customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're having dinner in the same place as you because they like to be, you like to be in areas that your customers are.
Right.
And by them seeing you seeing them, and saying a simple hello could be the next time that wife sits down with that husband and goes, you know, we got to call Dave,
right,
because Amanda just turned 4 and we don't have any pictures of her.
And that could be a conversation that happens at the restaurant.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
it probably has.
Absolutely has. Hey, are you still doing those portraits at the beach, Dave? Yeah. And then you get an email a little while later. I'm super involved in my local business community, right?
You are.
So my local business group is the Malvern Business Association. I was president a couple of times over the years, and it puts you in front of all the people that are also in business in your community who will use you professionally, and they'll also use you on the personal side.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are amazing tips, and I can say, after being Facebook friends with you and following you on Instagram, you are constantly doing things in your community. And I liked your post the other day. It was going back to 2020, and you had images of the blackboard out front. You know, and like you mentioned, you know, having something simple, that was just a reminder. It was just a little inspirational message that you guys changed your blackboard out in front of the studio when you were shut down. You know, those things matter to people, especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
You know, where we tend to be a little bit more electronic. When you have that touchy-feely, really invested in the community, that's a huge piece.
Yeah, and having the brick and mortar spot in the same place for all those years, there's good and bad to that. You know, people get used to it. Now they don't notice it driving by all the time because it's just they drive down that. You know, we have something like, I think, 11,000 people in the morning, 11,000 people at night as a trip. I found out
Down your street?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Right.
I didn't realize
but it's the same
that.
11,000 people because they're going to work and from work. Well, of course, for a few years they weren't. But so after a while, you don't necessarily notice. So then you do something interesting, like you put a blackboard out or balloons out for every holiday or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden, you know, they start remembering you were there.
Right.
You don't want to get to the point where people go, oh, he's been there for 30 years, so and so it's,
I see where you're going.
It's super important to make the place always look current. Make people understand that you are still current. You're still educating yourself with the trends of photography. You're still going to classes. You're going to seminars, which is like an unbelievable thing that White House has. That just. I was watching videos the other day, and I'm just thinking, wow, I'm sitting here. I watched 20 White House videos.
I'm so sorry you had to stare at me that
No,
long.
it was super cool because sometimes you just forget to look at, like, what did they put out this week, and there's something else to learn. So, but being cemented in your community is super important, and doing as many volunteer things, pro bono shoots. I mean, I get hit all the time. Can you shoot this? There's no budget. Can you shoot this for free? There's an event. You have to decide where you're going to say yes, where you're going to say no.
Right.
You can't do them all for free, and you can't do them all forever for free. And I have some that are my favorites and I'll just do for free forever. But when you go to those events, you know, one of the ones I do is probably 300 people, and it's yearly, it's once a year. And it's a fantastic cause. I choose to do that one for free and have been for 20 years. But 300 people are in the room, and my logo does go up on the screen for a split second. There's marketing there. That is just as good as a pay-per-click on Google.
Yeah, definitely. So we're talking about the studio and being based in the community. Let's talk a little bit about your staff and some balancing acts that you guys play there. So you and Valerie are there full time.
Yes.
So working with a spouse, and again, she's sitting in the room, so we're going to be.
Is there anything flying at me?
Can be a challenge.
Yes.
You know, and it's probably not all rainbows and sunshine all the time. tell us about your staff and
Sure.
how are you finding balance? Because again, from being Facebook friends with you, you travel, you see your family, you enjoy life, where I think a lot of photographers, especially maybe early on in the business, are so immersed in it, they can't see what that other side looks like. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to think about the fact that I'm in the fourth quarter, so I am an older guy in the business, right? Mm-hmm. So I did all of that, nose to the grindstone for a really long time. Valerie will attest to how many kids' birthday parties, special events that I may have been late to, or maybe missed altogether, practices, running to this person or that because I was out photographing something. And there's a time and place for that in your life. Everybody has to have that. And so when you're at a certain age, that's what you do. Yeah. And then when you get to a certain age, you go, okay, I need to, or somebody tells you, like in my case, my family says, you got to slow down a little bit. Yeah. Even though I think my energy level is still where it was when I was 30, at the end of the day, I get a little more tired. So you go, okay.
I don't know what you're talking about, David.
So you do have to sort of different stages of life, different amounts of energy are going to different places. But one of the things I think I noticed is, and this is really funny because looking at it from a social media side, from the other side, from you looking over at what I'm doing, a lot of people don't like to post what they're doing in their personal life on their business page, and that's okay. I totally respect that and understand it. For me, I'm sort of an open book. I don't hit the privacy page very often, and I could care less. Yeah. I put out there what it really is.
Now, would you say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but would you say that that's a piece of your community involvement?
Yeah, 100%. Okay. 100%. I also know, I've been around the block a little bit with social media, and I also know that I look at the engagement, and if we have the cutest grandson in the entire world.
Of course.
When it's something with family that is all of us, or my wife with his Gigi and him together, or anything.
Or your mom.
Or my mom, my 96-and-a-half-year-old mother. Community, the social engagement goes through the roof.
Yep.
You can only shove down the client's mind or the follower's mind for so long. Another pretty picture. Yeah. Another pretty picture. They get it. They know what you do. But what else do you do? One of the things that we're adding this year, and I'm not sure if this is a great idea or not, but it's TikTok, right? Okay. So everybody, Renee talked about TikTok recently, and I love to watch her TikTok. So I know that I'm not really savvy in the TikTok world, so we're bringing in one of our seniors who is about ready to graduate. Okay. And she's going to start, actually when we get back, she's going to start sort of building the brand in TikTok for us. And she'll go all through the summer, which is our senior season. Yeah. And she'll be doing behind the scenes and TikToks. Fun. And we'll see how it goes. Yeah. But that's new for us. So let's go back to staff, because that was kind of where your question was about 10 minutes ago.
I'm curious, if you do have additional staff and how you guys balance all that.
Well, the reason we've stayed in business since 1990 is not really by my camera ability. It's more by Valerie's ability to do the profit and loss statement. And she, for 32 years has been the one that said, you can't buy that camera that you want because I know you don't really need it right now, but you can do that when we're in season of this or that. And huge one was back when the digital era started. Think about a person that went through his whole career, 25 years of my career in film, and then had to switch to digital, and there's a lot of equipment to buy and a lot of things to learn. So that was a huge challenge for us. So Valerie and I are in there. Valerie wants to retire. She's put in her papers. It keeps getting rejected. No.
Sorry, dear. You don't get to retire.
You don't get. But it's a more flexible schedule, and we do have separate offices within our building, which is super important. When we first started, it was in the same office was sort of computer work of emails and so forth next to each other, and then the other room was our photography and our Photoshop room. Yeah. We quickly learned that if you don't want to get hit in the back of the head by your wife throwing something, you got to at least go in the other room. So we do that now. We have we have seasonal help from there on forward, right? So we have a Cracker Jack everything person. Her name is Asia. Asia spends a little bit of time in South America with her fiance, running her fiance's business with him, and then in season, and she'll start a little bit in April, and she'll really go into full gear come June through about October. Okay. Is our busiest crunch months. And she'll do everything from shoot with me, alongside me, to editing, to customer contact, sales, a little bit of everything. So she is our go-to person at that next level. Mm-hmm. And then we have 4 people that will shoot events that have been with me for years. Okay. That in the wedding side of it, they'll be either first shooter, second shooter, or sometimes third shooter. Okay. So we do that, and then we do a little bit of outsourcing of editing, okay, but not a lot.
Okay. So you're running, on a fairly light
yes.
Employee
yes.
basis.
And that's, I think that's important. I'd say to probably most people in the business mm-hmm. are saying, oh, I can't really afford to hire somebody out to do this, and the other thing all the time.
Right.
And you have to decide what's right for you. There's a lot of businesses, a lot of photography businesses that have large staff, and then what happens, we'll use the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, now I have to lay off 12 people or right. whatever. So I was never the person that really wanted that giant staff, but there are some downsides to that too, which mm-hmm. is I can't go where I want to go at this moment, or where the family goes, let's go here, oh, Dad's got
this going on.
Bunny week.
Yes.
Or whatever.
And that actually came up when we were trying to schedule your visit here.
Exactly right.
Matt, I cannot come, that is Bunny week.
That is Bunny week. And it's 5 days, but it turns into obviously more than that. It's 5 days of shooting. It's another 2-3 weeks of selling yep. and delivering and the pre-work to get it going.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to go back to one of your keys to success.
Sure.
Because that's really where our relationship kind of built.
Yeah.
Is you're being nimble. And I think that's a great word. So anybody who is listening along today, write that word down, because that's very important in business. And no matter where you're at in business, you want to be able to flex and change. You have to, especially now. So I can remember in March of 2020,
yes.
Starting to reach out and basically just like check in on people and see how everybody's doing. And I reached out to you via email, and you responded right away. And you were already in the planning phases of how you were going to be reacting and nimble to what was happening in our world. And I can remember you sitting in I think you were at home.
I was.
At your desk at home. And you were talking about how you were going to set up your Zoom room. You were already planning your videos for products.
Oh yeah.
All those things, so you were ready to go.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, because I think for anybody who, I should stop saying I know, anybody who's following along today, this is extremely valuable, and you made this pivot very early.
Yeah.
Now if you say, oh, let's have a Zoom meeting, everybody's like, oh yeah, no problem. In 2020, when you said, let's have a Zoom meeting, it's probably like,
what is that?
Yeah, I don't understand what that is. So to put that in perspective of how far ahead of this you were. So let's talk about your Zoom room a little bit. And we do have a couple images of that. So if we can pop the behind the scenes one up here on the screen so everybody can see what we're talking about. Will you just describe what we're looking at here, David?
Well, you can see that the Zoom room is really large. It is, it is probably 2 feet behind me. And the whole thing is probably, well, I know that I cut an old backdrop and hung it via one of those hospital rods that you pull the curtain across, yep. right? And that was probably a 3-day process, and everybody laughing at me at home, going, "What are you doing?" Well, I'm simply taking one of our office rooms that we work in. Right next to me, I think in the foreground of that shot, you'll see an album sitting on a countertop. That countertop is our order assembly countertop. Okay. That's where I stand. That room is 200 square feet, 250 square feet.
So that you're in your production space.
I'm basically in my production space. So the curtain pulls behind me. It's an old backdrop that I cut. And in front of me is a $16 video light from Amazon and probably a $19 microphone from Amazon plugged into an old, I want to say that's working on, like Windows 1 or something, on an old computer that's sitting there. And I needed to make a room that was simple enough for me and quiet enough for me and where I could zone in.
Yep. Because
my problem is if I'm looking around and other things are going on in the room, I'm distracted. Right? And I needed to learn Zoom. I needed to learn the whole thing. So I needed to concentrate on it. Mm-hmm. And I also know from just my interest in photography and watching TV that I needed good lighting. I'm a photographer. I needed to look good on the set. Mm-hmm. Right? That's important. You need to sound good on the set. There's nothing worse on a Zoom call, and we've all been there, and maybe we're all guilty of it, is it's a big echoey room, mm-hmm. and you're on your laptop, and you're looking down, and so now, photography rule number 101, never have the camera looking up at somebody, yep. and never have the lighting coming from the laptop looking up, so we have horror lighting. So let's put in a little cheap light, a nice microphone, so Lucas will think our sound, our audio is sounding good, right? And then just be professional on the call,
right?
And you've got something there. So people laugh for a long time, for a year. People would get on the call and they would go, "Wow, where are you?"
Mm-hmm.
Now they don't do that anymore because
that.
now everybody knows,
yeah.
what. But people would be like, "Wait, where are you?"
And I can remember, looking at your Zoom room, I just assumed that this was like a regular studio.
That's the shot of me. Thanks for that. Okay, that shot is when I have to sneeze or have whatever, and you click the button, and then you're like, "There's my static image." Wait, he's wearing something different.
Yeah, that's magic. And I can remember being on the call with you, and we were talking about Valerie, and all of a sudden the curtain moves, and she says hello to me, and then I realize you're literally in a pass-through space.
Yeah, tiny.
Yeah,
tiny.
Yeah.
And it's been really actually hilarious since, because if it's a client who knows us well enough. Mm-hmm. And I'll hear a chuckle from Valerie in the background, and I'll just go, "And there's Val," yeah. And then go like, it's like Oz and the Magic Curtain.
Well, that's awesome. So, when you were developing that system, tell us about the videos that you created for the products, because I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So I was in panic because I'm thinking, okay, I know I can get my ProSelect to work on the Zoom call. So screen sharing that's not that difficult. All right. We've got that. Everybody that is being photographed is either not in the studio or in the studio for the shortest amount of time, right? Because it's COVID. Yep. So they're in the studio, the mom is over here wearing a mask, so am I. The senior or whomever is taking off the mask for the shots, putting it back on, go to the dressing room. Oh my gosh, they have to learn they have to put a drape on, and we can't instruct them. What are we gonna do? Let's make a video. So we made a funny video on how to wear a drape. And it's hysterical. I had my niece be the model. She's a comedian in her own right. And we did some just goofy things on how to put the drape on by yourself. We used to have a studio assistant that would help you put the drape on. She couldn't be there to do that. The next thing goes, well, how are we going to show in a ProSelect call, in-person sales? We would normally just go, and there is a 20 by 30 standout. Over here is a canvas wrap.
Right.
How are we going to show that? We used our video Sense, which has proven to be so fantastic. We would play the video and say,
and it was a close-up, like...
It is close-ups of everything from albums. So the album video starts with a wide shot of 4 sizes and 3 different cover styles. And it zooms into the close-up of me paging through the album to show the hard pages, to show the cover thickness, to show the product and how beautiful it is. Yep. And there'd be some on-screen graphics explaining 10 by 10 size, 8 by 8 size. Yep. And people get the idea when there's a hand in the picture for a scale of size of how big this album looks.
Right.
The next thing we did was we did another video on finishes so that it would be close-ups of standouts. The camera would pan in close. You'd see the reflection of the finish. Yep. It's the same thing on a canvas wrap, a gallery wrap with a float frame, plain prints, mounted, not mounted,
Yep.
all the different finishes that we want to sell.
So you did a lot of different videos.
A lot of different videos.
Okay.
At that same time is when I produced the video that we saw coming in, which was Our Place. I thought that was important to know, where are you coming?
Right.
Those videos have since become, like, we think of them as no big deal, but I think we get a lot of hits on what does our place look like for potential new clients.
Right, yeah. Because then they know before they get there.
Yeah.
You know, they see you online, they see, you know, the studio, they know what they're walking into.
They know what they're walking into.
Really
Am I
important.
coming to a shopping center or, you know, in our case, an old house? So they go, oh, you know, hopefully they're saying it's cool enough, but warm and inviting enough.
Right.
And so the video, I think the intro video, I did another one right in the middle of the really depressing part of COVID, and it was really on the low key. My son put the whole thing together. It was kind of depressing, but it's a great, like, I still watch it because I'm like, you got to
shared that with us
You got to
before.
remember that.
Yeah.
You got to remember that time.
Yeah, definitely.
It was isolation.
Yeah. So during that time, you know, I can remember having many conversations with you about video and how this was going to potentially fill a piece of getting, you know, less weddings and slowing down a little bit on that. So we talked about how you're utilizing video for your sales and Zoom, in the Zoom room and all that stuff. What are you doing now with video as a product?
Well,
how does that fit in?
So that's the be nimble and change quickly and adapt. So our son he's based in Denver. We're based in Philadelphia. He has his video production company, and he is sort of the leader of my video segment of our business. And really, he's teaching me more than I'm teaching him. And so sometimes I become the DP, the director of photography on a set with him. Sometimes he just says, "Get out of there, old man. I'll take care of it.
You can carry this bag."
You got the client. You sold the gig.
Yeah.
And we'll do the rest. It varies how much input I have or don't have. We're doing, actually this week when I go back, we're doing an assignment for a recycling plant, a trash recycling plant in Philadelphia. And so it'll be a hard hat area, but there'll be office stills that I'll do.
Yep.
There'll be office video that he'll do. There'll be interviews that he does in his team. And then there'll be stills that I might light and he might shoot. Okay. So we'll bounce off each other. So for me, the next step is so we have this established bunch of commercial clients.
Yep.
Some are very regulars. I have a pharmaceutical company that are regulars for me when a new exec comes in, and I go to they like them photographed in a certain site on location. I had a conversation when I was there last week with the person that does the hiring for me, and I said, "Hey, do you know that we do a lot of video work now?" And she said, "Oh, I didn't know that." And so who knows where that's going to go?
Right.
It's a pharmaceutical company. I don't even know. Do they have the labs and the clean rooms?
Right.
Do they need cool stuff, or do they just need their CEO looking super cool? But they need video. Everybody needs video.
Right.
Everybody should have. Even as photographers, we should have video about us. And I don't have enough, but I have some.
Yeah.
But guess what? That stuff is hard to do, and it takes a long time.
It does.
It's so much more involved than us going out and doing a session, and you're with a client for an hour and you've got what you need.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and from the White House perspective, you know, we're doing a ton of video.
Well, here we are.
No, yeah, exactly. And you know, it's such a powerful thing to put online for people to hear your voice, see your mannerisms, learn, you know, and to become more comfortable. So, talking about 2023 and beyond for Campli Photography, like when do you guys get back into your senior season? What does the rest of the year look like for you?
Well, there are always challenges every year, and one of the things I think that was really important when I was thinking about coming here and talking with you guys is I don't like to sugarcoat anything, and the photography business of portrait world is difficult. It's challenging. It's hard.
Yep.
It gets harder every year. And so I like people to understand and know, people that are watching this are in the photography business. And you might be experiencing things saying, this is really hard. Yeah, it's really hard. It's not any easier for a guy that's been in it for 32 years than somebody that's been in it for 3. It's still challenging. You still got to make yourself go forward and do it every day.
Yep.
And I think 100% of the people that are in the photography business, probably it was their hobby, turned into their profession. We all love it. It's in our blood. I know it's in yours.
Yep.
There isn't anything else we'd rather do, but it's hard to do. So for me, it's the continuing of, what do I want to try that's new? What do I want to continue to do that I know is successful in our business, that keeps us in business every year? And how can I expand the things that we're already good at, and make a living at them and enjoy what we're doing, and then slowly fade away the things that are less interested to us. We don't do very many infant babies because I'm out of that age group. We used to do a lot more children and babies when our kids were young.
Yeah, right.
Now we have grandkids and it's different. So
the cutest grandson.
The cutest ever.
Yes.
But that's how you evolve. I mean, when our children were in school, we made friends with all the people that had children in schools with us, and so we did a lot of young children photography.
Yeah.
And then we do people with older kids, and their kids are in their 30s, like ours, and we do those kinds of sessions more often.
Yeah.
But I still like dealing with little kids, but I don't have as much interest dealing in infants now.
Right. So I want to point something out too that you just said to everybody that's listening along, because it's so simple that it might have just kind of slid right by people. Focus on what you're good at.
100%.
That's a really very powerful statement right there. And I think as people are looking at a new photography business or a business of any kind, it's scary. Maybe potentially walking away from a career and starting this and thinking, I need to do this, all these things.
All these parts.
Yep, to be able to, to still eat and to be able to live. Where in reality, from talking to a lot of photographers across the country, and you just reinforced it, you're focusing on what you're good at. You're selling what you enjoy selling, and you're narrowing that field down to what you excel at, because we'll all excel at things we enjoy doing.
That's right. That's right. You're gonna be able to sell something that you love and believe in a lot easier than selling something that you just hate doing, but you're doing it just because. You know you can eventually get that sale. So you do have to enjoy life. There's the balance right there.
Right.
You have to, even though you have your head to the grindstone and you're working really hard, you got to be enjoying it.
Yeah.
And if you're enjoying it, it's going to show, and your clients, you are now believable.
Right.
You are now the real deal.
Sure.
You're authentic.
Yeah.
And you have to have that, because that's the balance.
Yeah, definitely. So for people that are following along here today, where can they find you online if they want to learn more about David Campli and Campli Photography?
So campliphoto.com, which I'm sure you guys can throw the link somewhere, but campliphoto.com is our website. Malvern, Pennsylvania is where we are. And we do offer some coaching for photographers who are getting started and who need a little help. So that is a small part of our business. We actually just did that about 2 years ago. And I'm happy to help anywhere I can, because I've been there, done that with a lot of different parts of the industry.
Yeah, definitely. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
As a friend, as a business partner, as a client, all the things, and to have you and Valerie fly in, we've all been really excited for today.
Thank you.
We have a full day planned for you.
You can't know how excited I am.
Oh, I saw you out on the floor. I know how excited you are to be here.
When my alarm went off, I was already up for a half an hour this morning. I was like, we're going to the lab. We're going to the lab. Let's get going.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I would encourage anybody listening along here today to get to know David and Valerie. I mean, amazing, giving people, learn from them, see what it takes to be a part of your community. That's very, very powerful, and it will create success from a very organic, grassroots position that will build these long-term relationships. If you are watching this on the recording and you have questions, feel free to put them into the chat. I know how to find this guy. We can get them answered. But until the next time, thank you for joining us. Make sure and hit that subscribe button for the WHCC YouTube. Follow along on Instagram at WHCC Pro. For all your product details and questions, go on the website, WHCC.com. And we enjoyed having you with us. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Thanks,
it's
Matt.
always great hanging out. And we will look forward to seeing you back here sometime soon.